a general discussion about mental health. It is not to be interpreted as specific advice for a specific situation. Every situation is unique and requires advice to be tailored and adapted to that situation. All information in this broadcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional mental health services. If you or a loved one are experiencing mental health distress, please speak to a licensed professional in your area.
It's time to shine that light that lives in you. Living well. It's not too late to change. It's time to be the change. Living well. It's time to shine that light that lives in you. Living well. It's not too late to change. It's time to be the change.
Living well takes a community. So remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share with a friend. Welcome to Living Well, where we attend to the mind, the heart, the body, and the soul. You know me, I'm Dr. Erica Holmes, and I'm always excited to be here with you. I'm even more excited today because we are talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. So near and dear that I actually wrote a book about it. Dating. Not only dating, but dating with purpose. Are you intentional with the way you're moving out there? Well, after today, I believe that you will. So not even just today, but for the next 5 to 6 weeks, we're going to be talking about dating, relationships, and communication. So how did all of this come up, you ask? Well, let me tell you. Bishop Omer of the Faithful Central Bible Church in Inglewood, California, just finished a 4-part series, Dating, Mating, and Waiting, the games that people play, and he tossed it to us, little old us here on Living Well, to follow up and give you some specific tools on how to make the best out of your dating life. So get your pen, get your paper, open up your heart, get prepared to put on those running shoes to do something different on your dating journey. You ready? Let's go. All right, now y'all know what time it is. This is the time where we have our water cooler conversation. When we come out of our offices, gather around the water cooler and talk about what's hot. What are y'all talking about? That's what we want to talk about. Well, we found a clip to lead us into this conversation. So let's take a look.
Who has the courage to say, this ain't working? It ain't working for me. No dates at all. That ain't working for me. Stuck in the wrong relationship. That ain't working for me. No fruitful future. Where is this gonna go? That ain't working for me. How long am I gonna stay on hold? I'm trying the best I can. I'm trying. Now here's what's interesting. We seem to apply. So these guys said, okay, let's go into the city. If we stay here, we're gonna die. If we stay here, this thing gonna work. So lepers, a part of the disease, drained their energy. It was very contagious and very debilitating. So they said, let's use the last energy that we have. Let's put energy into changing our location. Let's put energy into refusing to stay here when staying here has no productive end. So let's use our last energy to change our potential future. Y'all, I'm gonna say something next week, not today because y'all ain't ready. I'm gonna say something to y'all who are waiting on God to send you somebody. I ain't gonna touch that today because y'all ain't ready for that. But I'm gonna say something next week about y'all who are waiting, waiting on God to send you somebody. You don't do that in any other area of your life except social relationships. All right. You in a job, you stuck in a job. Okay. You need a better career. I'm waiting on the Lord to send me a raise and so I can be in job check. Get back in school and prepare yourself for the next level. You don't do it with school. You want a promotion? Take the promotion test. You tired of living in an apartment? Save some money and buy yourself a house. We do it in every other area of life except in relationships. I'm waiting on the Lord to send me somebody. You keep on waiting, baby. These guys said, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we've been getting. I'm waiting on the Lord to... How's that working for you?
Right? Right? You know what they say the definition of insanity is?
When you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Exactly. You're doing the same thing over and over again, and you think something different is going to happen. That's the definition of insanity. And that first part that he talked about, that's what came up for me.
Exactly.
And it's so interesting because you see a lot of people who are in the dating world and they are doing the same things that got them into the last bad situation. And then they blame the person or the situation rather than starting with themselves.
Exactly. It's like they move from one relationship to the next, have the same problems, and then haven't figured out that they're the common denominator.
Well, what happens when you the common denominator, right? You taking yourself into every situation
Absolutely.
that you go into. I also like the fact that he says, like, you have to put the same energy into trying to find and cultivate an intimate relationship that you put into every other aspect of your life. And one of the things that I find is that we as women are not taught to do that.
Right.
We're not taught to do that. It's like, especially, let's talk about Black women for a minute. Black women currently are the most educated group in the United States. We are taught to go to school,
Right.
to get our own, to take care of ourselves, to be independent, to buy our own house, not to wait on anybody. And we take every necessary step
Absolutely.
to make those goals come into fruition. But I find that many of us are still wallflowers waiting to be chosen when it comes to relationships.
Exactly. You are absolutely right, because we put all our effort into those things. But when it comes to finding a mate, they're going to come. It's as if they're going to fall into our lap. We've often heard, well, the only way, if you don't put yourself out there, unless you plan on being married to the Amazon delivery driver, the UPS driver, or the postman, then you're going to be sitting up there waiting for a long time, because those are the only people that do door-to-door service.
And a lot of Christians will say, well, the scripture says he that findeth. So they don't want to go out there and say, I'm looking or I'm open. And it's like, but he's not going to find you in the house. And if you're going just from work to the grocery store to home, you putting yourself in limited spaces to be, quote unquote, found.
Exactly. You need to be found. You need to be seen to be found. But that goes back to this idea that, we don't want to appear desperate. If we go out, how many messages have we heard? If we go out and I'm just going to go to happy hour with some girlfriends. Well, no, I don't really want to do that because we don't want to appear desperate. And that's not appearing desperate. It's like, you need to be found. Put yourself out there someplace where somebody can see you.
Living your life.
Absolutely.
Going on and living your life and not stopping it. I also, think about this idea of kind of dating desperation. There are a lot of things that we don't do. Like, many women are, they feel shame to tell their friends, like, girl, I'm looking for a relationship. Because a lot of the messages that they'll get are, girl, don't worry about a man. Love yourself first. Or, you don't need to be looking for somebody. It'll happen when it happens. And so, girl, she looking for a man. So they think, that means that you're desperate. But they don't say that. But no one says that about any other area of their life. And men don't get the same criticism from their homeboys. If a guy's like, I'm looking for me a shorty, they be like, it's a group of them over there. Like, they trying to point him in a direction to where they are. But women, we often guilt other women. And, research shows that some of the most lasting relationships actually happen between people who were introduced to each other by friends.
Absolutely.
Because, there's a lot of reasons for that I won't go into. So how your friends gonna introduce you to this cool guy that they work with if you don't let them know, you know what?
I'm looking for somebody.
I'm open to a relationship.
Exactly. I think that is so, that's so important. And, to your point, when you said about living your life, That's the thing. There's nothing wrong. If you're single and you know you're looking for a relationship, get up, get dressed. When you go out the house, if you need to put on your lashes and beat your face just to go to the grocery store, then do so. You don't know who you might meet in the produce section.
The produce section, the gas station, the cleaners, the Starbucks line, the gym, you never know.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to, you want to be the best version of yourself, right? But you don't have to say, okay, I'm going to be dressed like I'm going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner to go pick up some apples. So there's a middle ground.
Absolutely.
There's a middle ground.
Something that says you're not out there. You're not putting this big sign on your back.
Right.
However,
don't wear your fur. Don't wear your fur to bonds.
Don't wear your fur. Don't wear my fur to.
Don't wear your fur to bonds.
Okay, I won't wear my fur to bonds, and But again, it is. I like what you said. Living your life, engaging in your day-to-day activities. Because you never know. You never know who you may run into. But it's not that you're out there, you out there seeking.
Right.
But you are presentable and you're waiting to be seen.
Exactly.
And that's okay too.
And if that's the way that you want to move.
Right.
Because some women are okay being more assertive and making their wishes known if they're interested in somebody. And that's okay too.
That's okay too.
It's a mutual decision to start to date or to want to get to know each other. And that's okay too. And we're just talking kind of about women, but I think for men too, there are many men who are having challenges or difficulty finding relationships. I was reading an article, I think it was in Psychology Today, where a new research study shows that men now are more lonely. They report being more lonely than they have ever in history. And so they were talking about some of the reasons for that. And, one of the reasons, I think, as I was reading the article, what came to me is that over the past few decades, there's been more acceptance of this idea of hookup culture.
Okay.
Right? I don't need to be in a committed relationship, or I don't need to get married because there's so many fish in the sea, so I can just hook up and go. And for some reason, people have been kind of lulled into this false sense of believing that hooking up can take the place of having a mature, committed, intimate relationship. And I believe what they're learning is that don't cut it.
No.
Right?
No.
Not having, because hookup culture doesn't include this relationship where this person is going to be with you. They're going to have your back.
Right.
They're there when times are low. They're there when times are high. You know that this person is there for you, with you. You're able to, go to family dinners and, go to family barbecues and,
Right.
You're involved in their family and seeing nieces and nephews being born. You're creating actually a life with someone when you're in a relationship. And I believe that men have been kind of supported in this idea that hookup culture is cool and having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people is, that's all you need, and are learning that that's actually not the type of intimacy and attachment that we desire as humans, whether you're male or female.
Right. It doesn't work. It doesn't last.
Exactly. And so I think even for men, taking the time and putting energy into finding the woman who will be potentially your forever, or who will be committed, who will support you and have your back, and saying, this is what I'm looking for, and actually doing the work to get through the weeds, because there might be a whole bunch of women out there, but not all of them are going to meet that criteria or your criteria.
Right.
So I think it goes both ways, that if you are looking for a loving, committed relationship, A, it starts with dating, and B, it starts with you doing your homework and deciding to put energy into going after what you want.
Absolutely. And that's probably the best takeaway.
Right.
For the entire water cooler.
I agree.
That's what I say.
I agree. And I'm so, it's a hot topic when it's made its way to the pulpit. I mean, the clip that we showed was of Bishop Omer of the Faithful Central Bible Church in Inglewood, California, who just did, in September of 2022, did an entire series on dating, talking to the singles in his congregation. What was it? Dating, mating, and waiting.
Yes.
The games people play.
Yes.
So when dating has made it to the pulpit, because usually a lot of ministers are only concerned with the married couple.
This is true.
When dating has made it to the pulpit, you know that dating is now on the scene.
On the scene and ready to be discussed.
There you go.
Ready to be discussed. Well, this would normally be the time where we would invite our expert as our special guest. Well, guess what, y'all? We got our own expert. We have our very own Dr. Erica Holmes, and she is going to take us further into this discussion about dating. Doc Erica, like you said, Bishop has been talking about the dating game, and one of the things that he has done is talked about yours truly, this wonderful book that you have, yes, Dating with Purpose, A Single Woman's Guide to Escaping No Man's Land.
Yes.
So I figured, you know what? Let's just get right into it, okay?
You know what? I just want to thank you for shouting that out. And I see you have your own copy with sticky notes and everything. So you've been digging through it.
I have. In fact, I was going to bring it out because, there's so many, nuggets in here that we have to be able to share, especially for those who have not been able to get their hands on it. So, you know what? I figured we just dive right in because I do. I have questions.
All right.
So the first question I have is this. Talk to us about what inspired you to write the book.
Well, writing the book was both personal and professional. Professionally, what I noticed over, let's say, the last 8 or 9 years is that a lot of women that I was seeing in my practice as a psychologist were women who were over the age of 35, who were educated, who were accomplished in their careers, who basically, what we would say, had it going on. Most of them were women. The one area that they would come into therapy about was the inability to actually find and sustain healthy, intimate relationships. So they had the house, they had the car, they had the job, they had all of that, but they didn't have anybody to share it with. And so processing what that was like for them and helping them to find out how to do something different, right? That wasn't working. And not just my work with singles, but also my work doing couples therapy, because a lot of the couples would come in with problems, whether they had been married 2 years or 20 years, problems that started when they were dating, before they even got married, that they never addressed, that they never knew or acknowledged to themselves that they wanted in a relationship. And so I was like, well, this work needs to be done early on when you're looking for a relationship. So that was the professional part. And then personally, I found myself back in the dating pool in my 30s after getting divorced. It had changed slightly. Even some of the, millennials or Gen Zers will say, oh, dating is so different. There's only small parts that are dating, which is how people are meeting. Online is such a big thing, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But how people are moving, it's the same. It's just that oftentimes there are more ways for people to get caught. So the dirt was happening. It's just that, we didn't have cell phones and videos and, video and Snapchat and text messages, so we didn't have all that. But I found myself dating and, kind of learning as I went along, integrating what I knew in psychology about relationships and attachment and learning how to do it differently than I had done it earlier in my life, before when I was dating. And then met my husband and cultivated this relationship and got married and did that while I saw some of my friends and clients not being able to do that. So I was, why? What made the difference?
Yes.
How did, the way that I moved, how was that different and led to this, this happy relationship? And we'll be celebrating 12 years actually next week.
Yes.
And so I mixed all of those two two things, and God dropped it in my spirit, dropped the title of the book, dropped the chapters in the book, and helped me to write it while, still raising my son, raising kids and working jobs and all of that. So it was a combination of all of that.
What you're saying is your talent and all kinds of anointing is flowing through this book, because I can truly say God definitely used you. And as you talk about your experience, especially with what I've read, you've poured it in here. And what you're saying is you've done the work. So everything that you talk about in this book, you have actually lived.
I have lived it.
You have lived
right.
it.
It's not just what I learned in books or talking to other people, because it's so easy sometimes to tell other people what they should do. And you can it's actually like, these are the things that I did, mentally to kind of prepare myself, and how I began to look at things. And not to say that mine is the only way.
Right.
But it worked for me in that way. And I saw and have seen it work for people that I've worked with as clients. So.
Well, it is definitely an amazing book. So next question I have. So one of the things that I noticed about your subtitle, it says, A Single Woman's Guide to Escaping No Man's Land. And what caught me was this idea of no man's land. And I know that that's, we hear this talk and conversation about, there not being, men out there. So I was just wondering if there was any influence there. So say a little more about that, this idea of escaping no man's land.
Well, I like the pun. I was like, that's just really a cute pun. I like how it sounded. And also, I wanted to dispel myths about that some women carry about, for example, there aren't any eligible men out there, that, all the men are either in jail or they're dating each other,
right?
Or that all men are cheaters or all men are, all of those things which keep you kind of wandering around in the desert and keep you hopeless. Like there's no way of escape. If that is your mindset, there's no way of escaping that, because you've already told yourself that you're unable to achieve this desire of getting a mate or, having a husband or having a mate or being in a committed relationship. You've already told yourself that.
Right.
So it's kind of like someone just walking around in a desert. Like that's the image that comes to mind. You have already convinced yourself that it is hopeless. So you will be wandering around. When we think no man's land is a term that's used to talk about a desolate place, right? So, I was like, but you can't escape it. If you change your mindset, which can change your behaviors, you can escape it. And I get a lot of questions about, why'd you write a book for women? Why not men? So there's a couple of things that I'll say. Just personally, I work with a lot of women. I am a woman. And I said, this is a point of view that I can speak from.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of when opposite genders try to tell, like when men try to tell women what they need to do, or women, so I'm not a big fan of that. I have been thinking about partnering with a male who works in this area to potentially write a book for men. But what I will say is there have been men who have read the book and have taken so much from it, because the strategies that I use in the book can be used for men and women, because they're all based on psychological principles and interventions that you would experience if you went into therapy to talk to someone about helping you to be better in your interpersonal skills or in relationships. So there have been men, I'm always like, just change he to she and she to he, so because the activities and things like that are universal and the principles can be applied regardless of gender.
That is beautiful. And I love the fact that, like you said, if you just change your mindset, that's a start. For those who are looking into getting into a relationship, just change your mindset. Come out of the desert.
Right.
Is what I hear you say. Now, you tapped actually into my next question. Talk to us a little bit more about the layout of the book, because I know that there are different exercises and you just mentioned them. So talk to us about the way the book is laid out and designed to move through.
Right. So the book is a workbook, which a lot of people don't know because it's not in the title, but I couldn't squeeze all of that in, right?
Right.
So the book is actually a workbook, and it's a workbook on purpose because, as I mentioned, I understand that I don't have your answer. I can say what worked for me. I can pull in academic knowledge and say, these are some good foundational things for you to think about. But you're the only one that can decide or determine how these principles can work given your situation in your life. And so the workbook, I give you some kind of principles, some information, and then I give you space to say, now, how might this apply? How does this apply to my life? How does this apply to what I'm looking for? So that you can come up with your own answers. You can come up with your own options. You can come up with your own ideas using the information and the knowledge that's in the kind of narrative portions that I've written. And so it's really important. And also, people need to be active in their life and changing their circumstances, not passive. And if I just wrote a book, that was full of narrative, then you're passively listening to me tell you what to do. No, you need to be active in changing your life in the way that you want it to be changed. And so it's a workbook. You got to put in work. And Rihanna told y'all she's going to be at the Super Bowl. She told you, work. That's it.
This is, and I know this to be true about the work, simply because even going through the book and reading it, and participating in the exercises, it is just that. It's reflective. And that's what I really love about it. It's reflective. It causes me to think about, my experiences, what I'm doing, what I'm saying. And you ask a really important question like, okay, how is it impacting, my behavior? So I really, really, really enjoy this, which actually also takes me to when you talk about doing the work and navigating through the book, one of the chapters that you have is I Know Me. And to your point, knowing me, like, who am I? Thinking about who I am and, navigating through the world or whatnot. And there was a quote in here. There are so many quotes in here, but my favorite quote, let me put up the people's, I got to put my glasses on.
Put your glasses on.
Because, when you did this, the words was too little. I know you wasn't thinking about me when you wrote the book, but, the words was too little. Next time, make them a little larger. But in the meantime.
At least your glass is cute.
Okay. So, but one of the things that my favorite quote is actually on page 3 in the book. And so I'm just going to read it for you. So the activities in this workbook are designed to facilitate exploration of your relational self and give you practical tools to date intentionally and to increase your odds of finding the relationship you want. My goal is to move the attention away from who he is or she is and help you discover who you are.
Yes.
Followed by, this workbook is designed to get you prepared to date by looking in the mirror rather than out of the window. Profound statements.
It starts with you.
Yes.
It starts with me. Me finding and sustaining a healthy relationship is more about me than it is about whoever I'm trying to be in relationship with. And so I need to know what I want, what I bring, and how that impacts our dance. Because I talk about a relationship being a dance. And sometimes people get together and one person is doing the cha-cha and the other one is twerking. And they think that's going to work.
Right, and you're not on the same beat.
You're not on the same, that ain't even the same music.
No, not
that ain't
at all.
even, somebody listen to Megan Stallion, the other one listen to Frankie Beverly. Come on now.
You can't even do that together.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't even do that together.
Not at all. Not at all. So I'm like, you have to be reflective. If I know who I am in relationship, what things I bring into relationship, that also somebody is going to respond to me. What people don't know this, but the way that you behave actually draws out or elicits behaviors in other people.
Yes, it does.
So my behavior can impact or have somebody act in a way that they don't even act with other people.
Right.
Because they're responding or reacting to me. So I need to know what I bring. And so that's why the book is really about who are you and finding that out.
Yes. So speaking of who are you, again, this book is so good. Another favorite section of mine. One of the things that you talk about, the different roles, how women tend to show up. And so there are a few in here. The section is My Dating Name Game. And there are several different, dating names. So I'm going to throw out one. There's a Duchess Needy. Duchess Needy. Talk to us about Duchess Needy. Who is Duchess Needy?
So first, let me say, this is actually my favorite part of the book, too.
Yes.
This is actually, what page is that?
This is on page 30.
Page 30.
Page 30.
So it's early on in the book. It's actually one of my it was one that I had the most fun writing, too. So the dating name game is really this idea that we have a certain personality characteristics. It's not being a different person. It's certain personality characteristics that we have with our friends, our homies, our friends, even our family. And then there are other personality characteristics that actually rise to the top or can't come out when we're in intimate relationships.
Right.
When we're in relationships where there can be this intimate or love or romantic attachment, there's something about finding or being with someone who could potentially be your forever that brings up other feelings that aren't necessarily triggered when you're with friends. I know so many people, even people that I work with, who have so many, let's say women, girlfriends that they are so cool, but they have so many, let's say women, girlfriends that they are so cool, but they get into a relationship with the man that they're trying to date and all this other stuff that comes up.
Right.
So the dating name game is an exercise where you sit back and you reflect on what are some of those characteristics that come up when I'm dating that are not necessarily seen to that extent when I'm with friends. And I'm like, let's externalize the behavior, give it a cute name so that we can work on it. So Duchess Needy is one example that I talk about in the book. And so Duchess Needy is a name for women who might have characteristics where they need a lot of attention from the guy that they're dating. They want to be called all the time. They want all the attention focused on them. They need to be the center of his life, the priority. They need to feel wanted all the time. So they're pulling and they're pulling and they're pulling on him and have difficulty standing on their own 2 feet. And that might make him feel overwhelmed.
Yes.
Right? He might feel overwhelmed or like, and because the void or that need desire was not created by him and can't be fulfilled by him, but they think, oh, if I just have a man and if he does all these things, I'll feel whole. And so he can be overwhelmed because it's kind of like a bottomless need pit that can't be filled until she gets to know who she is and gets in alignment with God. And before you move on to another one, I just have to jump in here because, this is Living Well, and I like to be transparent.
Yes.
Again, personal and professional influences. The first one that I talk about in that list is miscontrolling.
Oh.
Right? Because that's who I met along my journey. She was like, hey, girl. And I'm like, why you look like me? Why you look like, who is you? Right? But miscontrolling showed up. And I was like, oh, am I moving in that way? I want to control everything. We're going to do it like I done laid it out. Okay, this is where we should go on our date. This what time you should pick me up. And why don't you just wear this? Because I like that. That's cute. Why don't you do, I got this. Don't worry about it. Sit back. And having to reflect on, Erica, you can't run everybody.
Well.
You can't run. And that's something that I've been doing a long time. But I had to, where did that come from? And, in reflecting, many of us who have control issues, it is because we have problems with trust. We don't trust that anyone else can take care of us.
Absolutely.
So we don't trust that anyone else can do it. So we're like, no, let me take care of it. I got it because ain't nobody else gonna do it and they ain't gonna do it right, right? So, and what happens, it makes the man feel as if he's incompetent.
Right.
Or if you feel that he's incompetent or you feel that he's not trustworthy.
Right.
So I just have to put that out. I'm in there too. I'm in the list too.
I'm just going to say, listen, I'm doing the interviewing.
Yes.
But since you wanted to bring that up, I will tell you that even in full transparency, when I was reading, Miss Controlling knocked on my door too. I tried to tell her she wasn't invited, but she came on in. But there's definite value
Yes.
and understanding how you show up, because it really did facilitate an awareness, especially for me being raised by a single mother.
Yes.
You know, that
Yes.
independence.
Yes.
And we are raised to be independent, strong, not rely on anybody else, and those messages can come with us into our relationships.
most definitely.
and will definitely show up.
Most definitely.
So she showed up.
She shows up. And I think the beauty of kind of recognizing that is, number one, couples literature will tell you, some researchers in couples literature, they say you have to be able to laugh at yourself
Yes,
in
you
situations.
do.
You can't take yourself too seriously.
Right.
So being able to say, this is a part of me and I'm a work in progress.
Absolutely.
And the way that it showed up in my relationship and even in my marriage is that I was able to tell my husband when we were dating, look, I got a little controlling spirit sometimes. But know that it is nothing against you. This is something I'm working on.
Absolutely.
So if you see, her pop out sometimes, just gently. Now, gently, I need you to be gently.
Don't give too much pushback.
Exactly.
'Cause then you're going to force her to come out.
Exactly.
We don't want
So
that.
just gently be like, that's a little controlling, babe. And I'll be like, oh, you're right. Because
Yes.
I'm working on
Yes.
it. And I don't have to get offended. So being able to know who you are and how you show up, if you find someone who is trustworthy, who you like and you believe it might go somewhere, just being able to say, I'm working on that. So just, give me a little gentle reminder.
Absolutely.
And you can move, and she doesn't have to kind of destroy your relationship.
Absolutely. That is so key. So I'm just going to pick out
Okay.
one more, okay? Because there's so many in here, but I know we're limited for time. So let's jump on over to page 31 and Milady Feet First.
Yes. So Milady,
Milady.
feet first.
Yes.
This is the woman who meets someone at the grocery store, gets the phone number, they text and decide they're going to go out to dinner on Thursday. And she's in the closet on Wednesday looking at her wedding dress that she already bought. She jumping in feet first. This is the one. I know he the one. I'm already fantasizing. I'm writing on my paper my name and his name, my new last name, making sure the the letters align and it goes right. And then it's like, okay, we got this initial and that initial. And this is one of our children. They're gonna be named.
Yes.
And we haven't even collected any data about this guy. Who is this? We don't.
Feet first.
Feet first. So this is the person that's jumping off the cliff, going in, automatically believing that this relationship is going to be the one that lasts. So is moving too fast.
Yes.
Slow down, my lady.
Yes.
Slow down.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Take your
Gather
time.
the data.
Get that right.
Move on to the other chapters in the book.
That's right. I'm gonna need you to go through the book, my lady.
Go through the entire
Go so you
book.
can come out. Now I have to end with my favorite one.
What's your favorite?
So go to the next page. What's the last? Oh, is it Sister C Potential?
Sister C Potential.
Sister C
I had
Potential.
her over here as well. Sister C Potential on page 33.
Now
Tell
that
us
might.
about Sister C Potential.
Now, if you're honest with yourself,
Okay.
because I think many of us have been there at some point in our lives. Might not have been in your 30s or 40s, but maybe in your 20s. But Sister C Potential is the woman who dates projects. He has so much potential. If he would he could be.
Yes.
And I might not be consciously thinking this, but subconsciously, I am going to be the one to help him rise to his potential.
I'm going to make him better.
I'm going to make him
I'm
better.
going to clean him up and dust him off.
Exactly, and make him better because he has the potential. He has the gift of gab. He can own his own business because he can talk to anyone. What happens with Sister C Potential is that she begins to take main stage and begins to pull him along, which then in turn makes her frustrated over time.
Yes.
Because he's not living up to this potential that she sees. We don't know if he sees it. And he begins to get a spirit of dependency because she's doing everything trying to make him who she thinks he should be.
Right.
And so I argue in the book, ladies, we got to stop dating for potential and assess capacity.
Ooh, that's good.
See, when we're born, we all have the potential to be anything. We all had the potential when we were born to be the president of the United States, right? We all had that. President Obama wasn't born with a silver spoon. He came up through the trenches. He went to school and he became that. So we all, just by being born and God putting breath in our body, we have the potential to be a NASA astronaut. That doesn't mean we have the capacity. See, capacity is a demonstrated ability. When you buy a pot, it says it has a 4-quart capacity. Why? Because they filled it up and they were like, okay, if the pot is this deep and this round, it can hold 4 quarts of liquid. It has demonstrated that it could hold that. That is capacity.
Yeah.
So rather than dating someone who you're like, I think they can, have they demonstrated? Yes, they have the gift of gab, but have they taken a business course?
Right.
Have they ever run anything? Did they even have a lemonade stand when they were little? Like, have they ever done anything that says that they could actually do what you think they can do besides breathing?
Yeah.
So, but a lot of us are seeing potential and that's what we date. And that does not mean that we don't date people who are in progress, right? Who are developing, who are still becoming who they were meant to be and who they were purposed to be. But it has to be their motivation and volition that gets them there. And we walk alongside. We should not walk alongside, then get in front and be pulling because it causes resentment on both ends.
That's what I was going to say. We often see that with the couples that we work with when they come in there, that it's resentment. They begin to get bitter for not, doing the thing that, living up to the dreams that I had for you. I want you to, manage all of the household finances and pay all the bills and be responsible and be the man and lead with all the financial things. But if you can't balance a checkbook,
you came in debt and bankrupt. And I'm mad because you can't pay our light bill on time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's not reasonable, but so very true. And we know that there are so many different relationships that are being impacted by a lot of these different name games. So, of course, we got limited time, but thank you for allowing me to interview the expert with Dating with Purpose. Now tell the people where they can find your book, Dr. Holmes.
If you're interested, I pray that you are interested in learning how to date with purpose. You can find me on Amazon and where books are sold, anywhere books are sold online, Barnes & Noble's online. The book is only $20.95. Pick up a copy. I have even had folks to do this workbook with the guy that they're dating.
Yes.
So again, you can switch out the pronouns and there are activities and tools in there that you could actually work through and potentially grow as a couple and decide whether you should be together and where the relationship should go. So check me out on Amazon. I'm there. Well, that ends our episode for today. Until we see you next time, we pray that you are living well. For more information and resources, be sure to check us out at normalizehelp.org. And you can always email us at livingwell@faithfamily.org to get a question answered or to tell us a story. You never know, your question might make it to air or be the subject of one of our episodes. See you next week.
It's not too late to change, it's time to be the change. It's time to shine that light that lives in you. It's not too late to change, now it's time to change. Now it's time to change, now it's time to change. Now it's time to change, time to change, time